Welcome to my class. In this particular class, we will talk about domain names and IP addressing. This is part 1. As in our everyday lives, we need some way of telling the people where a particular thing is located. So also on the internet, we need to tell the people where a particular resource is located. When we talk about resource, it means some document, some article, some website, some web page. All these terms refer to resource. Resource can be in the form of a website, it can be in the form of a web page, or it can be in the form of a document, etc. For this purpose, there are two kinds of addressing. The first one is domain addressing or domain name address or domain name system. Second is IP addressing or Internet Protocol addressing. These are the two types of addressing which are available to us. First one, domain addressing, that is domain name system. Domain name follows a format called the domain name system, DNS. Every computer on the internet has both the domain name address, that is domain addressing or domain name system, and an IP address. Example of domain name address. The website address is http://www.microsoft.com.us. This is a domain name address, or we can call it domain addressing or domain name system. In this particular address, we have used some terminology which is written as, and it refers to protocol. Protocol is written as http://. It means these are the set of rules which the computer is going to follow. This is the protocol used in the transmission of information from one computer to another computer. The second is type of site. Type of site is www, World Wide Web. It means it is a type of site where the pages are linked to each other. This is the type of site or resource. The next one is domain name. Domain name refers to the name of the company which is having this particular server. In our case, it is Microsoft. This is the name of the server. Domain type, that is .com. .com refers to commercial enterprise. So this is a commercial site. Geographical domain, that is .us. It means this particular web server is in United States of America. For example, the website address is http://www.microsoft.com.us. When a user enters the domain address name of a site, for example, http://www.microsoft.com.us in the browser address bar, the browser takes this name to another computer, and that another computer is domain name server, which converts this name into equivalent IP address. IP address of Microsoft.com is 131.107.0.89. When a domain name is used, a domain name server translates that name to the corresponding IP address. Domain names describe the organizational or geographical realities. They either indicate the country the network connection is in or which organization owns it, and sometimes further details. A computer that translates the domain name of the computer into an IP address and vice versa upon request is known as DNS server. Domain name is http://www.microsoft.com.us. IP address is 32 bits long address. It is in the form of 0 and 1s. The IP address is returned to the browser that placed the request. The browser then lands on this address. Let's take up an example to understand the functioning of domain name and IP addressing. This is my computer. I have opened up Google Chrome, my browser, in my computer. This is the screen of Google Chrome. Now I can do two things. Either I write the IP address, which is in binary form, and it's very difficult to remember. The second option is I can write http://www.microsoft.com.us. For human being, it's easy to remember this particular domain name system, but it is very difficult to remember IP address, which is in binary form and it is 32 bits long. So what we do is we write http://www.microsoft.com.us. This typical IP address is given to Microsoft Corporation. Now on the Google URL, we write this particular http://www.microsoft.com.us. How does it actually function? Let's look at this. This is internet and this is my computer. This is DNS server and this is the Microsoft server. We want some information from Microsoft server. So we want to access that information from the Microsoft site. In my computer, in the browser we have written Microsoft.com. My browser will take this particular domain name to DNS server. The DNS server has got particular domain name, that is http://www.microsoft.com.us. Now the DNS server will convert it into 32-bit long binary, which is nothing but IP address. My browser gets this IP address and my browser will take this particular 32-bit long address to Microsoft server, and the browser reaches to the Microsoft server. Microsoft server comes to know that a particular user wants to get some information from the website. Microsoft server has website has web pages. Microsoft server gives the very first page of the website, that is the home page. My browser takes this home page to my computer. In this particular way, we need not remember 32 bits long IP address. Rather, we need to know the domain name, which is very easy for us to understand. Now look at this case. This was my computer, and on this particular computer we opened up Google browser, Google Chrome browser. We have written the domain name, that is http://www.microsoft.com.us, and my browser takes this particular information to DNS server. DNS server converts it into IP address, and my browser reaches to that particular server on the basis of IP address. From the Microsoft server, it takes the home page from the website and it brings it back to my computer. This is the way the whole communication takes place. So it is the browser which takes our request in domain name and goes to DNS server. DNS server converts it into IP address. My browser reads the IP address and reaches to that server. In our case, it is Microsoft. From the Microsoft website, my browser takes the home page and brings it back to my computer. Domain names. Domain names describe organizational or geographical realities. They indicate in which country the network connection is in, what kind of organization owns it, etc. Following are examples of domain names and their meaning. .com refers to commercial organization. .edu refers to this is an educational institution. .gov it refers to US government. .net it's a networking organization. .mil it's a military networks. .org it is mainly used for organizations which are private one. There are also domain names for countries. For example, IT is used for Italy, NZ for New Zealand, IN for India, and US for USA. IP addressing. When we look at a website, the address includes the name of the host computer where the website resides. The address looks like this: www.microsoft.com. When you are looking for specific information on a specific host computer, each host is identified by a host number that is called an IP address. To transmit a message, a source computer, that is the sender computer, it needs to know only the official IP address of the destination host, regardless of its geographical location. An IP address consists of string of 32 bits. They all are in ones and zeros, like this. Because it is nearly impossible to remember this many bits, the same address is written in dotted decimal notation. Here there are three main steps in creating an IP address into decimal notation. An IP address in raw form is like this. Divide the 32-bit string into 4 8-bit blocks or 4 octet. 4 8-bit blocks are known as 4 octet. It means in a combination of 8 bits, we will have one block. So we divided 32 bits into 4 blocks, and each block consists of 8 bits. In computer memory, a collection of 8 bits is called a byte. In data networking, it is called an octet. So a group of 8 bits, here it will be termed as an octet. Represent each octet as decimal number. We convert these binaries into decimal number. And here we get the number 131.107.0.89. We write this particular IP address as 131.107.0.89. For us, it becomes easier to remember this particular address. But to remember 32 bits long address, it is nearly impossible. So we have got two ways. Either we can use this particular IP address in the address bar, or we can simply write http://www.microsoft.com.us. IP address contains 4 number groups separated by dots. The decimal number are easier to remember. These numbers may be computer friendly, but they are not human friendly. For this reason, another type of internet address, that is called domain name address, domain addressing, or domain name system, was introduced. It consists of several text labels separated by dots. Operationally, it serves the same purpose as it represents a host computer. Therefore, IP address is given to each and every computer on the internet. Either we must know the IP address, or we simply need to know the domain name address. It is easier for us to remember domain name address instead of knowing IP address. Thank you very much.